while our panelists are coming on stage, I know there's been a lot of discussions in our industry and across the business community about the role that men are playing less and less in business leadership. I would just like you to take a note of our panelists and realize that we men are a minority, and I'm looking forward to our minority rights as we go forward. So we'll be channeling my inner David Verklin, which means that I would ask that at the end of the sessions, because we're going to go through all our case studies, that you write down any questions that you have while our panelists are presenting, and we will collect those questions at the end of the session when the lights come back up so we can see you, or feel free to approach one of the roving mics to ask your questions. But we'll be doing questions at the end once the panelists have presented. With that, I would like to introduce a name that is now familiar to you, Kirti Srikant, who's the AVP Director, Brand Marketing and Advertising for Oppenheimer Funds, to share her case study. So thank you, Kirti.
Hope you all are energized after some coffee. And I just don't know where the clicker is.
I believe this is the clicker.
Okay, thank you.
That's the forward button.
Great. So I thought I would actually take a little bit of time to talk through, from the asset management mutual fund industry, how we had to approach our creative development and how it ended up needing to be executed in a way that it was contextually relevant for all the variety of channels that we wanted to touch our target audience with. So today we're going to go through strategy and how that informs building tactics, the big idea, and the whole notion of learn and optimize. So first off, we had to step back within the firm and have a look at what is our current market position? What are the current market conditions? And how can we fill a needed gap? And this was very difficult because we were in this inception, and I call it the focus phase, back in 2010, and trying to recover from the distrust from investors as well as even advisors on how companies had managed funds and money. So we needed to figure out what can we do to actually truly add value. And so we decided to look at what we're very good at and what we have history in, good performance, as well as leadership opportunity. And it was to focus in the global and international fund category. How can we take our expertise, performance, and background and now further amplify it in the marketplace? And so we built a very clear objective. We were going to utilize advertising, digital out-of-home, social media, direct marketing initiatives to build awareness. We were going to actually, though, further define it by differentiating ourselves in how we do it. It was not about just consider a global fund. It was about, well, how will that help me at the end? So it was really, truly in the communication that was designed to connect the dots. And we wanted to be very innovative in our approach. So we were not looking to do this through traditional trade magazines and television advertising, but how do we utilize emerging and new technology and digital to push this message out there? And the grow portion of it is we have a reputation for being you know, a 50-some-year company that's old and old, basically. And so we wanted to change the perception of our company. We wanted people to see us as modern and bold and provocative, and also get people to change their approach to investment strategies. So the way we approached it is by designing a campaign that allows for engagement continuum. So any touch point that we put out in the public space or to touch investors and advisors, there's a way to engage with us and interact with us. So whether it's a print piece, and and ensuring there's a go-to search strategy implemented, there's a QR code, there's and there's a URL to drive it back to the web. Whether it's in a mobile format, how do we engage with you? Whether it's a quiz content. And we did this by designing, and I stated this earlier, we did not have like just one kind of very kind of narrow KPI for each of these different initiatives. Each one had its own individual KPIs, with the higher KPI always being build brand awareness and increase the intent to recommend our fund. And so we came up with the big idea, thanks to our agency partners, called Globalize Your Thinking. Nobody was saying this back in 2010. We're still running this initiative today, and it's been quite, it's changed the landscape in how we approach communicating to investors and advisors. Just to give you an idea of all the different type of placements that we utilize to make this relevant as well as effective. So it's not about just doing a display ad, but then it's also about ensuring that we use impact units like rich media or homepage takeovers to what do we do in the iPad space and making it relevant for that iPad user so they actually interact and engage with us. So I'm going to actually show you instead of just screenshots, if you guys can run the video.
Japanese stocks are down 40% over the past 10 years, but the Japanese yen is up 70% against the US dollar. How is that possible?
8 of the top 10 IPOs last year were outside the US, and the 10 companies that created the maximum shareholder value came from 6 different countries.
Modern portfolio theory doesn't look all that modern anymore.
We believe a portfolio is more balanced when it also includes other asset classes, like currencies.
There are risks that didn't exist 50 years ago, and there are opportunities that no one could have imagined 50 years ago.
You can't invest in the world's best companies by investing in just one country.
Who would you rather lend money to? A country whose debt is nearly 100% of its GDP? Or a country whose debt is roughly half of that?
Real estate is a different way, beyond stocks and bonds, for investors to tap into these growth economies around the world.
Gold is still worth its weight in a portfolio.
The dollar's pain could be an investor's gain.
Balance can start with stocks and bonds, but it shouldn't end there.
The 2012 campaign built on success and expanded its footprint. With dedicated iPad content, specialized placements in magazines, targeted email blasts, and a celebration of global perspectives at the Tribeca Film Festival. The Global Tracker app turned financial advisors into storytellers, connecting global economic changes to specific companies to Oppenheimer's global funds. Advisors were able to compare markets, get the inside story on the best companies, and get the scoop from Oppenheimer's experts through videos, snackable facts, and in-depth white papers. In the first 4 months, the app was downloaded over 15,000 times. Almost 3 out of 4 advisors who saw the campaign were more likely to recommend Oppenheimer global and international funds. And sales among those advisors were 39% higher than those not exposed to the campaign. As more and more investors and advisors globalized their thinking.
All over the world, the skies are open.
I just wanted to kind of narrowly focus on one of the specific digital place initiatives that were part of that integrated advertising campaign. And so just to give you a little bit of insight on our Captivate media purchase that started with our Rochester Way ad campaign, where we did a pre and post study, and the results were really mind-boggling. We did not expect our target audience of financial advisors to recall our brand more than 6 times, which is higher than the average. And our response rates were really high because we saw a lift in traffic that actually went to the rochesterway.com website. So that was a direct correlation with the Captivate promotion. Other interesting things is we tripled our brand awareness, and we also increased our intent to purchase. So it really had a huge impact, and we did that without utilizing television as our traditional vehicle in light of that. So I want to just quickly show the Captivate for Rochester, and then how we optimize that with, so we can go to the next clip. So you could see here we had a traditional buy. We leveraged the little window where the video played. This is really challenging for us in our industry because everything has tons of legal, as you could see coming up on the screen. So we really had to kind of create a marriage of good advertising within that space, but also work with legal and compliance in our industry to not have all that beautiful language appear, which took up most of the ad time. So we optimized it for globalize your thinking. We also partnered very closely to Captivate to push the envelope and actually bring in the opportunity to push newsfeed along with our quiz content, as well as promote our Twitter handle. Like, we just went all gangbuster on Captivate. So I'll show you that now. As you can see, we've taken over the entire screen, and this has been huge for us. The number of advisors that have actually reached out to our sales force saying, I saw your ad in the elevator, or it's just constantly in their face during peak hours that they're there. So that gives you an idea. And then finally, we wanted to make sure we were noticed, and that has also helped us with just brand awareness in general. And so these are some of the accolades that we've earned in just the last year. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirti. So please write down your questions as we're going through our panelists. Our next panelist is Jan Mulkey, who's the Contact Planning Manager for Hallmark. And just to refresh your memory, it's 10 minutes per panelist, and then we're going to open up for questions.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jan Mulkey from Hallmark Cards. And before I get started, I wanted to acknowledge the contribution of 3 partners that were significant to my effort. And those partners are Starcom, Leo Burnett, and NCM. And without their help, this effort would not have been a success. So I'm here today to talk about the launch of a new product for us, Jingle the Husky Pup, and Jingle's appearance on cinema. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with Hallmark Cards. We're a 102-year-old company headquartered in Kansas City, Missouri. We have been known in the past for greeting cards for special people, special occasions. But in 2011, we repositioned our brand. And our goal, our new goal, is to encourage consumers to share meaningful moments any day, anytime, anywhere. And in short, our new brand positioning is life as a special occasion. With that new objective, with that new positioning came some new objectives. One of our new corporate objectives was to launch and support innovative products. And for those were products that allowed people to connect and share in those together moments outside of the greeting card space. So Jingle, which is an interactive storybook and buddy, which I'll show you in just a few minutes, is an example of one of our innovative products. As a retailer for our Gold Crown stores, we also wanted to drive store traffic. Obviously, this is imperative to us, particularly during holiday 2011, which is when this aired. Our target for that was we wanted to reach engaged and less engaged shoppers. And so particularly for us, it's important to get hit on both of those cylinders in order to have a successful holiday. We also were interested in attracting our new consumers, which are moms of small children. Our marketing campaign was very robust, and we've been talking today about context matters. This is actually the fourth prong of our video approach to try to get everything more contextually relevant. The first prong of that was contextually relevant programming on TV, so networks as well as programming. The second arm of that was we picked out a few key partners to do multi-platform sponsorships with. The third of that was to follow the consumer wherever she was viewing the content. So for us, that meant deeper involvement in broadband. And the fourth leg of this you'll see here is to expand into cinema with a contextually relevant product fit, and we also felt it was really a golden opportunity to capitalize on co-viewing opportunity. Jingle had his own TV campaign. He also had a 30-minute special on the Hallmark channel. Engagement media is kind of the bucket that we roll everything digital up under, so that's everything from social to PR to bloggers to online to email. He had a campaign there, and then we have about 12 million loyalty program members known as Crown Rewards. That's what the CR Contact is, so we did have direct mail that supported it, and then a robust magazine effort. With our cinema plan, we actually had two components. The box on the left is what ran in November. The box on the right is what aired in December. We felt it was critical to have both months covered. And the box on the left, we had a 2-minute and 30-second, so again, putting branded content into the pre-show before the NCM movie started. And we also had lobby television as well. In December, that 2-minute 30 disappeared, and really we relied on our 30-second spot to carry the weight, and we had lobby activity as well, and then we added some interactive touchscreen kiosks in some key markets. The environment, obviously being Hallmark, you can imagine that the environment is pretty important to us. We were only airing in G and PG rated movies. I thought first I'd play the 30-second spot that really kind of explains what Jingle is. So could you roll the video, please?
Hattie, come on, we got a new book.
Yay! Storytime is not for reading.
This is a story about Jingle the husky pup, and Jingle was a good dog. Jingle loved to bark hello. Jingle even loved to sing.
Jingle? It's for bringing stories to life in a whole new way.
Jingle stay, and Jingle did.
Hallmark Interactive Story Buddies. When you read key words, Jingle responds.
So basically, the insight behind this product is a way to enhance that together time that mom and her child has together to create that more meaningful connection. This next slide you'll see we put together a recap, just making you visualize what the entire components of the cinema package were. We put this recap together for our senior management, and I thought it would be helpful to share that with you as well. So if you could roll that video.
During holiday 2011, Hallmark introduced moviegoers to Jingle the Interactive Story Buddy in cinema. As part of the pre-show entertainment, both Hallmark and Jingle were prominently featured as interstitials between program segments, and also served as a lead-in to the animated short film, Jingle All the Way. This 2.5-minute excerpt from the Jingle All the Way TV special introduced consumers to Jingle and provided a call to action to locate Jingle product at Hallmark Gold Crown. Movie theaters also rotated our 30-second Surprise Jingle TV commercial with the animated short. We also had a presence in theater lobbies, too. Video screens in lobbies showed the 30-second Jingle commercial and the 2.5-minute animated short. And in select theaters, we created interactive photo kiosks that let people take their picture with Jingle while we promoted the product at Hallmark Gold Crown. By entering an email address, users got a copy of their photo sent directly to them, as well as more information about Jingle and where to buy him.
With any package like this, any kind of sponsorship, we also make sure that we negotiate research as a part of it, because for us it's important to learn as much as we can from opportunities like this, as well as for us to get a gauge on whether it was money well spent. So NCM contracted with Nielsen and Market Force to do both pre and post after the movie interviews with people. It was, excuse me, and occurred over 2 to 3 weeks, and they did that both in November and December so that we could see how the long form performed versus the short form, and it tested things like ad recall, likability, and purchase intent. And what you'll see, this is from the long form, the 2-minute and 30. You'll see that it had significant lift in both content and likability as well as intent to purchase, so 26 to 35% increase versus the NCM norms. And then in terms of the 30-second unit, you'll see that, again, we had some even bigger lifts in terms of recall, ad likability, and purchase intent. Just as an aside, NCM also provided us with IAG data on this commercial, and the commercial that aired in cinema actually outperformed our TV scores, our IAG TV scores, by about between 10 and 40%, depending on what the measure was. This is just some of the stats on people that use the lobby interactions. Again, this was pretty limited in terms, we did it in every theater where they had the kiosks, which was 21 theaters in the top 10 markets. But you can see that quite a few people engaged with the brand and with Jingle and sent some emails. Our conclusions from this effort were that the content integration performed well, but actually so did the 30-second unit by itself. We viewed this as a great opportunity to reach parent and child during that together moment. And we also felt that the cinema added another dimension to our media mix. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. So I'm now going to ask Patty Foley, Director of Marketing Communications and Merchandising at Jack in the Box, to share with you her case study. Patty?
How many of you out there like to have a cocktail on Saturday night? Oh, I have friends. How many wish you could expense those cocktails on Saturday night? On behalf of Jack in the Box and Horizon, I'm excited to be here to show you and share with you our case study using digital place-based media and an opportunity to expense drinks for Saturday night. I'm just going to catch some people up here since we're a regional player on our brand. Our first restaurants opened up in 1951. So we've been around for 60 years. Our headquarters are in San Diego, California. Our heritage started with a silly clown on the top of a speaker box. Today, Jack, through the plastic surgery, is now our fictional CEO who champions the best fast food experience that we can bring to our guests. Our footprint, we're in over 2,200 locations in 20 states. We just opened our first restaurant in Cincinnati, Ohio, so now we're in Ohio about 2 weeks ago. Our products, we have a variety, and we're known for our variety. We, of course, have a variety of hamburgers, real ice cream shakes, and we're known as a late-night destination for our 2 tacos, which have this great cult following for those of you that aren't familiar with those tacos. And those of you who are, I know you're craving them, and I don't have any with me. Our target is adults 18 to 34. And now onto our case study. In Super Bowl 2011, we launched a new product, an All-American Jack. And the premise of the commercial was Jack's loyalty to America, being very excited to be an American. But the only thing that he has not done as an American is spring break in Cancun. So the launch of this commercial also had a sweepstakes opportunity to win a trip for 10 to Cancun. Since our campaign in general and Jack's personality, we're very fortunate that we usually launch with television, but the personality of our brand allows us to have legs to extend beyond traditional media, which again was an exciting opportunity for us to be in this opportunity coming up. What we wanted to accomplish with our digital place-based media is really reach the adults 18 to 34 where we knew that they would be excited about possibly winning a trip for spring break. Obviously, with any brand, we want to drive immediate sales. We wanted to encourage interaction with the Jack in the Box brand and also start to really understand the ROI through consumer engagement data. Bars were a natural fit for us. The target, obviously, is 58% of the audience that go to bars are within our target of 21-34. The behavior, about 40% of people visit a bar, visit a restaurant, or eat after a bar. And the proximity. There's a lot of bars, as we know, and there's a lot of fast food opportunities out there. So we partnered with AMI Entertainment Network. We were in 8 markets with over 1,400 bar locations. So Jack in the Box went bar hopping. How we engaged our consumers. The big buzzword in Miami out-of-home was this slow-mo, and I can't quite say it as smoothly as a lot of people out there can. We were lucky that the website, and I should also explain for those of you that maybe it wasn't very clear, basically we lined with AMI Entertainment, which was a digital jukebox in bars. So the website, and I'm going to show you an example in a minute here, definitely had Facebook interaction. The local was there was a mapping opportunity for those people that wanted to find a Jack in the Box immediately leaving the bar. We also had a QR code that took them to the microsite to explain more about the contest and allow them an opportunity to learn how they could win a chance to win the trip. We also had, for the interaction engaging, a gaming on the site, as well as, again, reiterating the trip to Cancun. Show video, please. This is what you would experience if you were at a screen in the bar. Hopefully the hook, so they learn more. You could see that we had sponsorships within the music selection area. Again, here's the opportunity to learn more about the trip. Find a location. And then here was the game that, again, reinforced some items to associate with Cancun and hopefully get them excited. The nice thing about this, we got about 2,500 Facebook new signups, and I'll explain in a minute in relationship to other campaigns how that compares. Here is the mapping location. I realize some of this is obvious, but there's no sound. I'm trying to fill in the blank space here. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, here's the QR code where you could scan to go to the microsite and actually have an opportunity to also see the commercial. So our return on investment, the campaign gave us 24 million impressions. The click-through rate was a 0.58, which is very high for us. We're lucky that our emails have about a 0.2520 open rate. So again, this was a nice comparison. And the average time spent with the site was about 52 seconds. I mentioned our Facebook signups at about 2,500. Our typical monthly new Facebook signups are about 5,000. So you can see that we were definitely in the area where people were most interested in associating ourselves with the brand. So that was, in our eyes, seen as a great place to kind of fish for new Facebook participants combined with the contest. Just to show you some other things we did for the campaign, here's some examples of the bulletins that we did in 33 markets. We had more markets obviously participating in the out-of-home. Again, we had some transit going on. Our key takeaways were that we were able to definitely target on a lot of areas that we were excited about, demographics, behavior especially, as well as geography. We had the capacity to effectively tie the media to the message, and it was definitely engaging, and for us it was also just a fun environment. Our brand is fun. This allowed us to extend that fun out to outside of the television world. And we were able to, for the first time, start to get some data and understand how this will compare towards other ventures as well as future ventures. And lastly, the key takeaway is I was able to successfully write off these drinks, which is probably the only time I'll be able to in my career. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. I'm now going to ask Maureen McCloskey from the Group Director, Account Services, Kinetic Worldwide. We'll talk about what in Australia is the word for beer, Foster's.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Thank you to the entire board of the DPAA for inviting us to come talk to you about some of the exciting things our team in Chicago has been up to. In everything that I do professionally and personally, and everything that I try to engage with my team, and when we always do something together, I always say, what was the lesson that was learned? In the last 2 years, here's what I've learned. Focus and determination must be at the forefront. Team effort and team support is key. And when you believe in something, it will come to fruition. Professionally, it was these 3 pillars that drove this case study that I'm about to present to you. And personally, and yes, a selfish plug, it was these 3 pillars that drove me to finish the Chicago Marathon 1 week ago. So, thanks. So as the song goes, it's almost 12:30, but I don't care. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So let's talk about some beer. So we first began this journey last November when we were called in to hear and be briefed on the national plan. And Foster's had 3 focus areas that we needed to hone in on. Reach more consumers this year versus last year, hit multiple touch points, and key for us, it was aim efforts at C-Store. Our twofold media objective was to drive and increase unaided awareness, and again, contribute and support C-Store growth. So who is our guy? He's 25 to 34. He's friends with everyone, but still genuine. He's open to everything and is comfortable in any situation. And the beer he chooses creates a certain vibe, enhancing his social experiences. So for all the single ladies out there, he sounds like the perfect man. So why digital place-based? For all the reasons that we see up here, is a lot of why we love digital place-based and really try to insert it in any campaign and any brief that we feel if it's necessary. But when we were talking about Foster specifically, I have to be honest, the question wasn't so much why digital place-based, it was we have to help them grow C-Store. We know we can do that, and we know we can do that well using TV at the pump. Because being in close proximity to C-Store is not only key for Foster's, but it's key for a lot of the brands under the Miller Coors envelope. Coors Light, Miller Lite, Keystone, Miller High Life, you name it. C-Store is huge for us. Okay. Oop, I wanted to stay on that slide. Sorry about that. So over the last year, our team worked together to put together quite a variety of scenarios. We looked at national plan pricing, and we looked at markets, specific markets only, because beer is a local business. There was a strong interest from the brand team, but a little hesitation because no one had tested it before. So we knew we had a little bit of an uphill battle. The budget allocated for out-of-home wasn't enough to support a national, full national plan. There were 6 management units that we had the goal of growing C-Store in, with attention on Florida, California, and New York City. Another hit we took was legally, we can't run off-premise in the states of Florida and California. So I think you can see where this story is heading. It was clear that this wasn't going to be going our way, and it didn't. However, a few months into the new year, our local field marketing manager in New York said, for Foster's, I want to support Long Island. I want to support the summertime. How can we do that? As most of us know, once you get further out on the island, there seems to be limited out-of-home opportunities. And I really have to thank my manager, Joe Waldsmith, who was with me on the national brief for Foster's for seeing another opportunity and another open door for us to talk to our field marketing manager about TV at the pump. So after multiple conversations in a couple different scenarios and match listing C-stores to Miller Coors lists, we were able to get the approval to do a local test in Long Island during the summer months. So here we go. Our strategy was part of the national plan as well, but we recommended testing point of sale to determine whether TV at the pump can impact sales during the summer months. Like I said before, with limited touch points, we were able to engage with our partners at Gas Station TV and Outcast. We were able to hone in on 31 total stations out on the island, which equated to about 275 screens. We aired the 15-second national spot on screens during pump activation. The program ran June 11th to July 29th. And at the end, we tagged it with a 5-second spot that said, "Go inside now and grab some for your mates," obviously connecting the Australian infatuation with the brand. And what's even more important is that the local Miller Coors sales teams merchandised the stores with the Aussie six-pack carrier, which is the picture you see at the bottom. Some of our other local compliments that were also running with TV at the pump were, we had wrapped double-deckers here in New York City. We wrapped the jitney buses to connect everyone from the city to the Hamptons, and as you can see, the creative is the giant oil can, with the back of the bus being the top of the can. There were national activation compliments as well. TV was running the same 15-second spot, was cable entertainment, sports, ESPN and MLB, and then there was a national digital play as well. And here is the spot, if we can run it.
How to speak Australian. Shark attack. Beer. Foster's Australian for beer.
Grab some for your mates. Inside now. Please drink responsibly.
Okay. So now for the exciting stuff. We tested sales lift in every single location, so 31 locations. The spot was running the Foster's Lager 24.4-ounce can, which is the blue can at the bottom. So in the first 4 weeks, and keep in mind the research came to us after, and that's why it's posed in the last 4 weeks and last 13 weeks. In the first 4 weeks of the campaign, TV at the pump indirectly increased volume within these 31 locations, about 81%. And then they continued looking at the trend within the last 13 weeks, and then year over year. So same time period last year versus same time period this year. Year over year, Foster's was up 40% in terms of volume. And what was also interesting is there seemed to be a halo effect on the premium ale cans, because we weren't advertising that at all. But we've seen that before in some of the things we've tested for Coors Light and how it has a halo effect for Coors Banquet, and how Miller Lite will have a halo effect for Miller Genuine Draft. So while in the first 4 weeks with the premium ale cans we were flat in terms of volume, 84%, year over year they were up 41% in terms of volume, which is great for us because our job is about selling beer and getting it off the shelf. So we were extremely happy with these results, and the corporate media team, you know, some of the verbiage that we heard from them was, wow, some great news coming out of the Northeast region for Foster's, and our corporate team was pretty impressed and said, you know, these are some pretty unbelievable results for a brand like Foster's, being able to contribute in terms of volume. And the map below is just kind of what it looked like between Outcast and Gas Station TV. And that's about it. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you, Maureen. We're going to open up for questions. I'd ask if there are any cards that you've written up that you raise your hand, and the team will bring up to me, or we'll have microphones. Before we start, I have a question for a panelist, and it's for all of you, so I'll start with you, Kathy. We are in a changing landscape as we look at this new media. The irony, or irony is not the right word, the uniqueness is that this is an industry conference where half the attendees are either clients or agencies. So you have colleagues, half the people in this room are your colleagues in the audience. Could you share with them, please, what you found to be the biggest challenge as you were planning and investing in digital play space? So the biggest challenge. And then what did you find to be the biggest reward or upside? I know you've got some metrics you gave to us, but biggest challenge and biggest reward, kind of in a nutshell, that you could give to your colleagues that are in the audience.
Sure. I think what internally the challenge for us was, if you do digital, it should be cheaper to produce all of the creative to support it. And when I say digital, I'm using it broadly. So whether it's the out-of-home digital, or it's online, or it's mobile, it's like digital is cheaper. You should, you only need X production dollars to do it. And it required education internally because, it's not about, you do it because it's cheaper. You do it because it's the right thing to do, given our current strategy and what we're trying to accomplish. The big reward, though, is that although it's cumbersome in the production and et cetera to get these different components out to the marketplace, you can measure them. And that's been a huge reward for us. Like, we are able to prove the value of all the effort that was put forth to get that specific digital component out. Super, thank you.
The challenge for us, and again, much like the challenges you have when you present it in terms of legal, that's our biggest challenge, because there are plenty of states where we are prohibited from doing such things as TV at the pump. So we had support from the corporate team. We've been talking about TV at the pump to the Miller Coors brand for 2 years. There was strong support from it, so that wasn't a challenge. It made complete sense. But legally, it's very hard to do a national plan and then to do a local plan, as I presented. Some of the major markets for Foster's we couldn't do, and it's hard to be able to walk away from that. So that's a big challenge for us, is legal and staying on the right side of the law. The reward is the sales results that we helped them achieve. And it was a team effort. It's really, the story becomes about how media and local sales teams can work together to really make a strong campaign. So the reward is obviously the sales and the fact that when something works in the Miller Coors system, it works its way through. So we have a believer in our field marketing manager in New York, and through a lot of our 2013 conversations, we have a lot of interest from other markets and states that want to utilize this avenue, not only for Foster's, but for any of the brands.
Thank you.
Our challenge is similar to what she spoke about earlier, in the fact that the premise of our campaign is television, and all this digital is complementing it, and we just don't have dollars to produce all the specific creative you need for it, so that becomes challenging. And I also think a lot of this stuff does need specific content produced for it, and for the most part, we default to using the 30-second television, but I think there's an opportunity to even tailor the video message a little bit more to the medium. The reward is, for us, we're just a fun brand, and this sounds really shallow, but this is just an opportunity for us to be in new, fun places and to kind of get that wow factor out there for our brand. So that's the reward there, and then, of course, the measurable, the way we can start comparing and seeing how it's working. And I always say that with the example I just used for the bar media, the Facebook signups I was excited about, and when I mentioned that number, which seems really low, and it was only in 8 markets, everybody's like, well, yeah, that's good. And then when I put it in perspective to what we get on a monthly basis, then everybody's like, oh yeah, okay, maybe this is making a little sense. So I think they just need to get used to not having these huge deliverables with this stuff and realize that we're basically fishing where the fish are biting, so.
Very good.
I think our biggest challenge was carving the money out of our TV budget to fund the cinema and then protect that money over the times when there would be often trade-offs proposed. So finding and carving out the money to do it, because it's not cheap. And, but the reward was, I think we saw that it really did add a different dimension to our media plan and really was able to talk to families when they're in that space, when they're going to be more receptive to our brand.
Thank you. I have a question from the audience. Oppenheimer in Rochester, Foster's in Long Island, great test results. Did you or will you get funds for more national rollout? You've got great results. Why or why not?
I don't think we actually want to have a huge national rollout based on those results. What we did was we wanted to increase our share of voice in our target markets, and that's what the beauty of this medium allows us to do, is to truly narrowly target who we want to speak to. Our focus is financial advisors and the buildings in which they work in, and target them. And so we are in our target cities currently, and have been this year, and expanded our kind of share of voice within those specific targets. If anything, it would be to expand it so it's consistent all year long instead of in blocks, because it is a very expensive buy for us. And so we have to weigh our kind of pros and cons.
I would love it to be national. I'd love the support from the financial support from the national brands. The national brands support it, but again, beer is such a localized thing that we really need the support of the field marketing managers and the sales team to really push it through, because like I said, connecting media and what's going on inside at point of sale really helped drive the results that we saw. I'm not going to say yes or no. I mean, we're still kind of in talks for planning for 2013. But nationally, I don't know if there ever be that type of funding. And again, we go back to the legal. You start to look at key markets, and even if it's the top 10, we might be able to be in, 35, 40% of those, because legally we can't be elsewhere.
Understood. Jan, this is for you. Did the close proximity of Hallmark retailers to movie theaters play an important role in driving store traffic?
It did, absolutely. We did a pretty in-depth analysis. NCM helped us with it to figure out basically what kind of coverage we were getting, because one of our big concerns was we were only doing a deal with really NCM, not Screen Vision. And so we did a pretty in-depth analysis to figure out whether our stores were covered, and we found out that they were covered to our satisfaction. I think our goal was about 60%. I think we were maybe a little shy of that. But yes, the close proximity to Gold Crown definitely had an influence in that.
Patty, was there any conflict of running jukebox ads in bars where there's food being served, since you're advertising, obviously, potentially a competitive product? No?
No, we didn't have any problems.
This is to the entire panel. On measurement, I believe you're all running in Nielsen measured networks. Can you share with the audience the importance that you attribute to third-party measurement of the data of the audiences that you're delivering, that you're going into?
I would say that for us, it's critical. Without the measurement and without the research on the back end, I don't think we would have entered into something like that. I think it's important to demonstrate to the people giving us the money that we've spent their money wisely, and I think it's also important for us to maximize our learning opportunities to figure out, did it work for us, did it not? If it not, why not? If it did, what was good about it, so that we can continue to build on it.
Across the board on measurement, any other comments?
Yeah, I would say that it helps directionally make us, in the case of ours, I mean, the bar media is a little obvious with our target, but it just, those numbers make people that are uncomfortable with that feel a little bit more comfortable moving into that medium.
For us, it's doubly, equally, incredibly important, because we have to be able to prove that the adult 21 plus comp is over a certain percentage point, and we can only do that if it is measured, and you can prove that. And then 2, we have to be able to show exactly adults 21 plus, and in this case, men 25 to 34, being able to understand the scale of that target. So again, for us to even, we have a lot of legal hurdles. So once we get over one, there's always another one waiting. But that 21 plus comp percentage is incredibly important. If we can't prove it, we can't run it.
Measurement?
I agree with all of my colleagues' comments, but one thing that we've started to look at more closely in our firm is, although measurement is important and it should certainly influence the decisions we make for media and strategy. It should not drive our decisions, because just because something may not be necessarily driving, say, the intent to sales figures, it might be important for us to still be there for a brand awareness purpose. So it's about figuring out what role does each of these different components play in your overall strategy, because it's not always about the click-through rate or about the scanning of the QR code.
Understood. Before I ask other questions, are there questions from the mic? Yes, hello. Please say your name and address to who you'd like to address the question to.
Okay, great. Adam Malone with Do Media. This comment and then question is for Patty. You described the campaign as being social, local, mobile, having a gaming element and sweepstakes. First of all, bingo. Second of all, can you please describe the process for developing the creative assets that went into that? Was that internal? Was that with AMI or some sort of third party?
Yeah, the way we're structured is Horizon's our media agency and Secret Weapons our creative. And we basically passed, once it was decided, it on to Secret Weapon, and they worked directly with AMI. And I know that the feedback was the collaboration went well. I had no involvement in the creative development, and I passed it off, and it worked out well. I know that they enjoyed working with us, and we enjoyed working with them. There was lots of trade-offs, but in the end, everybody felt very comfortable with where we landed.
Thank you. Other questions from the audience? I've got some written. So, just a little Verkland moment, if you permit me. Which, as opposed to which national historical figure you would like to refer to, I'd like to ask, what media do you go to learn more about the trends in media? What, either blog, online, daily do's here, where do you go to get your media information to stay current as media strategists? Let's go around.
That's a hard question, because I feel like I go all over the internet space, but if I want a quick get smart in 30 seconds, I love my LinkedIn feed. I'm connected to all the right people in my industry, and I love to see what they're thinking about, what they're discussing, and subscribing to those feeds through LinkedIn. Very good.
Maureen?
Same. There's so many things out there. I feel like that's why my brain never shuts off. It's Facebook, it's Twitter. I'm kind of an old-fashioned kind of gal who used to be a print buyer, so I still read the physical copy of Adweek every week when I'm commuting in and out. Huffington Post, just anything. I mean, anything can sort of relate and tell a story. So it's
stimulate your brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm signed up on a lot of emails, so I get those and read those. Horizon does a really nice job of providing a monthly recap of trends and then also providing insight, what does that mean for us? Because I think so many executives get excited about this stuff and really has no application for us, so that helps me manage them back of the challenges or the future of what's out there for our brand.
Thank you.
I agree with my panelists, and our agency, Starcom, also does a monthly kind of digest of really the current trends and media at the forefront, and then what does it mean for us? What are the implications for us?
So one of the questions came out as working with your agency. Now we have an agency on stage as well, but as the world is evolving and the way that agencies were set up before, the way silos were set up before for television versus print versus radio, all of that's kind of blurring, especially in our space, and we're very proud to be out of home. But it's out of home with video, sight, sound, and motion, digital signage, and so forth. How do you work with your agency in this evolving landscape? And what do you predict to happen over the next 18 to 24 months with the previous silos with the new integrated model? Let's go across our panels.
So we, as a firm, had to evolve how we kind of worked functionally internally. And so we also created that same partnership with our creative agency as well as our media agency. And so we do all kickoffs with the digital person at the table, the creative head, all the buyers, all the key constituents. We basically kick off that way. We approach all of our external communications and advertising with that pinwheel that I showed from my presentation. Like, all those partners come together for everything.
Well, you're in the agency, but you're allowed to talk about how you integrate inside the agency. Or you can skip if you wish. Skip? You want to skip? I'll skip.
Okay. We do the general same thing, that when there's a new product, all the agencies are brought together and the project is kicked off. The agencies also have a monthly meeting called Super Friends where they have to get along. I don't know how much they complain about us during those meetings, but that's where they're sharing. And there's an opportunity where there might be a new medium and Horizon invites them in. So Secret Weapon, they can understand maybe the creative implications with it. So that takes place. And also we just consolidated our online to Horizon, which has definitely made it easier. I mean, I know that everybody has their specialties, but it does become very resource intensive on our end. So just consolidating a little bit more has helped out a lot.
Thank you.
And we do the same thing. We have an integrated kickoff where we have basically all disciplines represented, all agencies represented from all, and then there's a pretty sophisticated briefing process that we go through with communication between us and our various agency partners to make sure that everyone's on track and that we're all on the same page.
So one last question before I go to our next steps. Can you please rapidly give us, across the panel, prediction for digital place-based? Where do you see this industry in the next 2 years? Let's start this way and work our way backwards.
I think it really only has upside because I think the whole contextual relevancy, being able to reach consumers where they are in the mindset that they're in at that time, I think it's only got to have an upside for it.
Thank you.
I don't have anything more to add, but I agree that it's just an exciting platform. And for our brand, again, it just allows that much more interaction and getting closer to their purchase decision.
I would also just add that I think you're going to hopefully start to see people walk away from looking at it just, again, I know how I presented, it was specific to Long Island, it was specific to summer, and it was, you know, one avenue. But I think we're going to start hearing a lot more people try to talk about it in terms of an audience play. So if I have to target men 21 to 34, yes, gas station TV at the pump works, but what else works? There's, you know, in arena, there's convenience store TVs, there's a myriad of opportunities. So how is it about reaching the audience, and then what digital play space can do based on audience?
Thank you. Kirti?
I do think they covered everything. I just think that we're living in a much more modern and digital world. And as infrastructures are improved around cities and globally, and where the places of contact and points of interest are also improved and more screens are put in and whatnot, we're just going to be surrounded by screens, I think, everywhere we go.
More prevalent and growth. So, fellow members, we are beginning our network lunch sponsored by RMG Networks. The lunch is being served in the Media Lab. Hold on for 2 seconds because I do have some important information to share. The same place we had breakfast and a coffee break. As Sue mentioned in her opening statements, for those that want to, we're going to try a little structured networking. There are a number of tables outside. Some are marked with a topic and will have a table host. Some will be open for discussion. You get your lunch, go to the table of your choice, and continue some of these great conversations. Each table is manned by an expert, and some even by our speakers that you've seen today. The tables and the topics and the hosts are Industry Investment with Adrian Cotterell, Daily Do, who's up here in the front, International with Brian Dusho of Broadsign, Research with Roger Brooks of Eyes on Media, Social, Local, Mobile, or Solomo as we say, with Stephen Randall of Locomoda, New Technologies with Andreas Supliatos of Ayuda, How to Get on the Media Plan with Bob Winston of Arbitron, The Brand Marketer's Perspective with Steve Palmisano and Ad Elevate, and 2 tables will be devoted to case studies. One will be hosted by Patty of Jack in the Box and one by Maureen of Kinetic. Finally, please remember that NEC will have its breakout presentation in this room at 1:15, and the Summit program will begin promptly at 2 p.m. Please join me in thanking our panelists for having shared it. Thank you.